Okay, so before I get into any of the receipts, I need to give you the full backstory because this story does not make sense without it. Jovi Dufren and Yara Zaya are not a couple who just showed up last season and disappeared. These two have been part of this franchise for years. They first came into people's living rooms on the original show, then stuck around through multiple seasons of Happily Ever After, and more recently, they were one of the headline couples on the very first season of 90 Day The Last Resort, the therapy spin off where struggling couples go to either fix their marriage or finally admit it is over. Married for roughly 6 years. One daughter together, little Mila, who by now has basically grown up in front of cameras. So when I tell you there is a new rumor that this marriage might be finished, understand this is not some random new couple nobody has invested time in. This is one of the franchise's longest running relationships, and if it really is ending, it is ending in a way none of us expected. Here is my promise to you for this video. I am going to walk you through exactly where this couple has been before, because their history matters here. Then I am going to lay out the new claims step by step, the man, the holidays, the confrontation on camera. Then I am going to introduce you to the name that has suddenly attached itself to this story, a cast member you may already recognize. And by the end, I am going to give you my honest read on whether I think this is real or whether I think we are all being played for a storyline. So stick with me because the biggest piece of evidence in this entire story is not even the rumor itself. It is something you can go check with your own eyes on social media. And I am going to show you exactly what to look for. Let's start with the history because Jovi and Yara have never been a quiet, drama-free couple. If you go back to their season on The Last Resort, things got ugly fast. That whole season was built around couples going to a resort in Mexico for intensive therapy, and Jovi and Yara's storyline that season centered almost entirely on trust. It came out that Jovi had been texting a stripper he had previously spent time with, and once that surfaced, everything else in their relationship became a target for scrutiny. There was a night where the guys went out to a strip club, and when they came back, it turned into one of the tensest group blow-ups the show has filmed in years. Ed brought up Jovi's texting situation in front of everyone, and things escalated so fast that Jovi actually stood up like he was going to swing on him before production stepped in. Yara ended up in tears. She threw a drink at him, and later that season, she opened up about how insecure she felt in her own body after having their daughter, saying she felt like she was constantly being compared and constantly falling short. That is not a small storyline. That is a woman on national television saying she does not feel secure in her own marriage. And it did not stop there. Their season also touched on intimacy-focused counseling sessions, where the show's own therapist pointed out that Jovi and Yara were struggling to connect physically, which is never a small thing to have highlighted on camera in front of millions of people. There was even a family therapy episode where it was revealed that Yara was not the only one in that relationship keeping secrets, which honestly, if you go back and rewatch it now with this new rumor in mind, hits very differently. At the time, everyone assumed the biggest issue in that marriage was trust around Jovi's past. Nobody was talking about Yara keeping anything from him. Now, with what is reportedly circulating today, that detail suddenly feels a lot more relevant than it did back then. So that is where they left off publicly. A couple who fought hard, cried a lot, and somehow, like they always do, found their way back to each other by the end of the season. And that pattern is exactly why a lot of longtime fans have learned to take any Jovi and Yara breakup rumor with a grain of salt. This is where I need to rehook you into something important, because this is not even the first divorce rumor about this couple this year. Back in the spring, Yara posted a video of herself in a styled wedding shoot, running down what looked like an aisle in a white dress, dropping some captions about being happy after her divorce. It spread everywhere within hours. Fans panicked. People were making video after video asking if Yara and Jovi had secretly split. And then it turned out to be nothing. It was a full-blown photo shoot. There was a production crew visible in the background. There was another woman also dressed in bridal wear standing right there. It was Yara being Yara, because if you have followed her for any length of time, you know she loves stirring the pot online just to see what happens. So when a new rumor says these two are splitting, I understand completely if your gut reaction is, we have been here before, and it was last time. But I want you to actually hear me out on why I think this new one deserves a different level of attention. Because the source and the specificity here are just built differently than that spring rumor ever was. This new claim is coming from an account called Shabooti, And if you are even a casual follower of this franchise's rumor mill, you probably already know that name has built a track record of getting things right before they become official news. This is not some random anonymous tip account with zero history. According to this insider, during a spin-off shoot that reportedly took place in Florida, the same shoot that reportedly also featured Jasmine Pineda and a few other familiar franchise faces, producers allegedly pulled Yara aside on camera and confronted her directly about a romantic relationship with a man based in California. And here is the detail that makes this feel different from every vague rumor we have seen about this couple before. This was not framed as some flirty text exchange or an emotional connection online. The specific claim is that Yara allegedly spent both Thanksgiving and Christmas with this man. Two major holidays, family holidays, the kind of days you plan around, the kind of days that usually involve extended family, traditions, photos, all of it. Allegedly, that time was not spent with Jovi and their daughter the way you would assume it was, based on everything this couple has shown us publicly. That is not a fling detail. That is a real relationship-level detail if it is true. So let's sit in the most uncomfortable part of this for a second, because I do not think enough people are asking this question directly. It is reportedly unclear whether Jovi even knew about any of this while it was supposedly happening, which means we are really looking at two very different possible realities here, and both of them are wild in their own way. Scenario 1. Jovi had no idea, and he found out the same way production apparently confronted Yara, on camera, in front of a crew, which would be an absolutely devastating way to learn something like that about your marriage. Scenario 2. He already knew, in which case, what exactly were the last several months of their public relationship actually about? Because from the outside, from everything we as fans could see, they looked like a normal, happy, occasionally bickering married couple. If he knew, and they kept showing up together anyway, that raises a completely different set of questions about what this relationship has actually been for the last year. And that brings me to something I think we need to talk about honestly, because I do not think it is fair to just accept everything at face value without asking about the incentives here. These franchise couples get paid to keep appearing. They get paid to keep being interesting enough that production wants to keep filming them. So it is a completely fair question to ask. Could two people who privately know their marriage is over keep pretending to be a happy couple in public just to keep collecting checks and staying relevant? I am not telling you that is definitely what happened here. I am telling you it is a real question that plenty of fans are already asking in the comment sections of every article about this. And given how this industry works, I do not think it is a crazy question to raise. Okay, rehook, because this next part is where a name gets attached to this story that changes the entire shape of it. Allegedly, since all of this reportedly went down, Jovi has been spotted filming spin-off scenes in two different cities, Miami and New Orleans, with a rising cast member named Elise Benson. If that name does not immediately ring a bell, she is from Before the 90 Days. She was part of the recent Season 8 cast, and she is someone the fan base already recognizes as a personality who tends to generate a lot of conversation. She is also, and I think this matters for context, someone who fans have pointed out could use a fresh storyline to stay relevant within this franchise going forward, which is exactly why some viewers are side-eyeing this entire situation even harder than they normally would. Is Jovi genuinely moving towards something new with her? Or is this a convenient, mutually beneficial plot for two people who both currently need drama to stay in front of a camera? Here is the part of this story that made me personally take it more seriously. And I want you to actually go check this yourself instead of just taking my word for it. I went and looked at both of their public social media pages while putting this video together. The last time Jovi and Yara appeared together publicly was a promotional video for Shark Week, posted on July 24th. Since then, nothing. No joint posts, no photos together, none of the usual back-and-forth comments they typically leave on each other's pages, the kind of playful, married couple energy they have shown for years. And on top of that, it looks like they both recently went on a family trip to France with their daughter, which honestly should have been the easiest, most natural place in the world to get one cute family photo together. Instead, based on what is publicly available, it appears they very intentionally avoided being photographed together during the entire trip. Think about that for a second. If you are a normal couple on a family vacation, you do not have to try to avoid your own spouse in pictures. That takes actual effort. That is not an accident. That is a choice. So let's rehook one more time before I get to my honest verdict, because I already know a section of you watching this are typing something like this into the comments right now, and I want to address that head on instead of pretending those doubts do not exist. Yes, this couple has cried wolf before with that spring photo shoot rumor. Yes, they absolutely have a financial incentive to stay interesting to producers and to audiences. Yes, reality television has a long, well-documented history of manufactured or exaggerated storylines to keep viewers hooked. All of that is true, and I am not going to pretend otherwise just because it makes for a less exciting video. But here is the difference between that spring rumor and this one. Specificity. The spring rumor was one ambiguous video with zero named details attached to it. This new claim has a location, it has a holiday timeline, it has a source with an actual track record, and now it has a second person's name attached to what happened afterward. That is a completely different category of claim than she posted a video that kind of looked like a divorce announcement. Let me also address something else, because I think it is important to be fair here instead of only chasing the most dramatic version of events. Insider accounts, even from sources with good track records, are not court transcripts. Details can get exaggerated in the retelling. What starts as an emotional connection can get flattened into the word affair by the time it reaches social media. What gets described as an entire holiday together could, in reality, have been something smaller that grew in the telling. I am not saying that to excuse anyone or to defend anyone. I am saying it because I think it is important that we hold two things at once here. The possibility that something real and significant happened in this marriage, and the possibility that the full truth is messier, smaller, or different than the version currently circulating online. So here is my actual honest take, and I want to give you my real read instead of just telling you whatever sounds the most shocking. I do think something real happened here. I do not think this is 100% manufactured drama with nothing behind it. I think it is very possible the complete truth is less dramatic than a fully fledged secret relationship spanning 2 holidays. Maybe it started as something emotional that got misread or oversimplified once it reached an insider account. But here is what I keep coming back to. I do not think Jovi being filmed with Elise Benson in 2 separate cities is some random coincidence. I do not think 6 straight weeks of complete social media silence between 2 people who used to post constantly is nothing. Something clearly shifted in this relationship, and it shifted recently. Whether what shifted is a full-blown affair or a marriage that had already quietly run out of road behind the scenes, I genuinely believe we are watching the real ending of Jovi and Yara play out in real time right now. We are just watching it happen through silence and absence instead of through some official announcement. And honestly, that is often how these things actually end in real life. Not with a dramatic confession on camera, but with 2 people who simply stop showing up together. I want to be really clear with you before I wrap this up, because I take it seriously when I am telling you something that is not confirmed. As of right now, neither Jovi nor Yara has publicly confirmed or denied a single part of this story. Everything I just walked you through is reportedly true, according to an insider account, allegedly happening, not verified directly by either person involved. I am not telling you this is a settled fact. I am telling you this is the most detailed, most specific version of this rumor that has surfaced so far. And it lines up disturbingly well with real, visible changes in how these 2 people have been behaving publicly since it reportedly happened. That combination, a detailed claim plus visible behavioral change, is worth paying attention to, even without an official statement yet. So here's my hot take to close this out. I think Yara ends up being the one who addresses this first, publicly, because out of the 2 of them, she has always been the one more willing to just say things out loud, messy or not, rather than staying silent and letting speculation build. I think Jovi stays quiet for much longer, because if there is any truth at all to the Elise Benson connection, the very last thing he wants to do right now is confirm 2 separate storylines in the same breath. But I genuinely want to know what you think, because this fan base has called plenty of these situations correctly before anything became official. Do you believe Yara actually had a real relationship with someone else during the holidays? Or do you think this entire story has been built up to set up a Jovi and Elise storyline somewhere down the road? Tell me exactly where you land in the comments because I read every single one and I want to see how this fan base is actually breaking on this one. And if this kind of story is exactly what keeps you coming back to this franchise, my next video is going to break down a couple this season who did not have a single real relationship problem until the cameras needed one. And honestly, once you see what I found, this Jovi and Yara situation might not even be the messiest thing happening in this franchise right now. So stick around for that one, and I will see you in the next video.